right. So today, guys, we're going to talk about how to lead worship from the piano. I've been a keyboard player, piano player for a long time, primarily leading from the keyboard at my church. But I will say I did eventually start gravitating more towards using the guitar to have a more open feel when I led. Plus, I found a couple great piano players to take my place. So I'm primarily a keyboardist, but today I'm just going to talk about some of the technical things you can do on the piano while you're leading to make things better for yourself, and also some things to do with yourself as you sing and interact with the congregation. So let me walk you through. I wrote some stuff down here. First thing I want to talk about is your bass line playing. You want to bring things back to your simple bass line. For guitarists, this would be your G major chords and your C major chords. Use a capo and don't try to fingerpick the songs. That would be what I would say to a guitarist to be their bass line. For piano players, your bass line is going to be basically your left hand root and fifth, if we're doing a D major chord, and the right hand D major. This would be your bass line, and then you would chunk your left hand on the whole notes, beat one, and your right hand would keep the quarter notes, maybe the half notes. So this is the Paul McCartney sound. Let It Be from the Beatles, or whatever. But yeah, that's the pop music piano. That's going to be your home base, right there. Stay there, and as you sing through your worship songs, let that part of your playing become automatic, where you just play through the songs without having to focus on your piano technique. Start there. That's your bass line. You want to keep returning to that. And then as you have the headspace while you're singing and playing, then you can add little fills. But don't be thinking, oh, what's a fill I can add? Because it's going to distract your face. I've done this for so long. Anyone can tell you I have the intense face. When people can tell that I'm starting to switch from worship leader, hey, sing with me, to like producer mode, I become like, I'm thinking about like the chords and the technology. You know, did I turn my pedal on? And you can see it in my face, and it becomes kind of funny because you're not leading anymore. Now you're becoming like a studio engineer. So I did a lot of that, and that has its place if you are a producer. But have your bass line be just the simplest version. And I'm actually going to grab one of my hymnals here. So you guys. By the way, as I'm going to be using this, and this is a hymnal, the digital version. If you go to my website, jaredmckenna.com, links in the description, you'll find this hymnal. It's a bunch of hymns, my custom lead sheet and chord arrangements of it. This will be super handy to grab. You can use it for hymn sing, use it for your worship teams, use it on Sunday. I'm going to keep updating this, by the way. So, and eventually, I think I'm going to actually bind it and sell a nice actual version. This is like a cheap version, but anyway, go grab one, and you can follow along. But if we start with A Mighty Fortress is Our God, that's like the first one, and it says B flat. So that's what I'm going to be using just right now, just because it happened to be right there. But, so, A Mighty Fortress. So my first idea for you was the left hand root fifth, that B flat F, the right hand B flat D F. A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Okay, right there, that's very doable, especially if you have a band around you creating more interesting textures. This is fine. The fortress is our God, a bulwark. See? I don't know if you can tell, if you can see my hands. I'm keeping the pulse. My left hand is sort of declaring the chord changes. Sometimes I'll do that. The left hand will be an octave. This is, instead of just the root fifth here, if you don't have a bass player that day, you can go like that. And the reason you don't do, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I was to do all the notes all the time, a mighty fortress is our God. Now it's too redundant. It's too jackhammer-ish. So what you want to do is kind of declare your chord and let it fall off. Now also pay attention, I have a lot of dynamic contrast. Those other quarter note chords I'm letting fall off and become a distant pulse. All right, you don't need to slam them. Maybe for like, a big giant second half of the bridge or something. The other trick, and this is something that's going to be overarching through all you do, is get rid of the third. I would say for all of this that I'm talking about, when it comes to chords, if you drop the third, you're instantly going to put yourself in a more contemporary sounding space. A mighty fortress is our God up. So that's already kind of a cooler, more open sound that I prefer. It leaves the sound in a more nebulous and interesting space to me, rather than just the very vanilla. That's like super vanilla sounding. The other trick that I'm going to teach you right now as your bass line, and this is even simpler than what I'm talking about. And this works, I think this works across all venues other than strictly traditional venues. In your right hand, play your root and your fifth. In your left hand, have your octave bass note changes. And you don't change the right hand ever. You just continue to play it. And your left hand just changes the chords by changing its bass note, like this. A mighty fortress is our God. A bulwark, here's E flat major, but now it's E flat 9. E flat add 9. And then the F chord now becomes an F with a suspended 4. See, I'm keeping the B flat and the F, which is the root and the fifth in the right hand. Kind of a middle area. Don't be up here, be in the middle. And hear those three chords, the B flat, the E flat, and the F, are now much more interesting, much more contemporary sounding, and nice to me. So, a mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Okay, so now we're building. Now that's kind of where I would naturally gravitate with this song. The other thing to keep in mind is the rhythm of the song. Where's the backbeat? Where's the downbeat? Where's the kick drum and the snare? I'm always finding that. On the piano, I'm always finding that. That always needs to be a sub-pulse or an undercurrent inside your body, is the rhythm. The entire band needs to be playing inside you. And the piano, whatever you're doing on the piano, needs to be rising up out of that. So here's my arrangement of this song. I did like a rock and roll arrangement for my church. And it's like, like that, right? So if I were going to do that on the piano, I would, mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Okay, so now I've created this repetitive motif, which is essentially the slamming of the root and the fifth. So that root and the fifth essentially creates a droning texture that helps string along the song. And the left hand kind of slamming the chords is what keeps the interest going. And then from there, that's kind of how I treat most of my contemporary kind of hymn updates or the contemporary playing that I do. That's kind of my little secret sauce, is just keeping that root in the fifth and locking into the rhythm and keeping it simple. And I could go off for days on, you could just keep like expounding on that little technique and go like this. And I'm back. So it's basically the journey technique. They, in their song, just a small town girl, or whatever, that's basically that sound. Or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. The Journey song that everyone can play on the piano. It's like the first song teens learn how to play. That sound, that open sound is good. And you could add other textures if I add the 9 in there. So lots of room for fun there. So then the next thing I'll talk about is adding fills. So I'm starting to talk about it here, but if you add fills, Mighty fortress is our God. No fills here. See, I added just a little doohingy up there. Wait till your vocal phrase is over and fill that lack of vocal phrase with more rhythmic-y things. So the first example would be something that does not require any extra notes. You could just kind of slam it like you're playing a bongo drum. A bulwark never failing, a helper he. See that? I just kind of hit my root and fifth like it was a drum, just adding some, like a drum beat fill. And then pull back to something more restrained. Or you could do something complex. A bulwark never failing. See, right there, I'm like, I was trying to be too complex and I forgot to come in with the voice. So watch the fills, keep them real simple. The trick here is basically to keep your hands in a particular zone so you don't have to be looking down at your hands. I like being just the piano player. If I can be just the piano player and not have to sing, it's my favorite spot. But if I am the worship leader and the singer and the lead singer, you got to give up a lot of your fanciness. And that's okay. You can still, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing to strip away and to become very simple. The other thing I'll talk about is dynamics. I mentioned this before. Make sure you're not slamming the keys. Let me just pick another song. Alas, and Did My Savior Bleed? In the key of, let's do the key of G. Nice and low. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? Was it? Okay, so can you see where my notes were popping out and where they were becoming restrained? Was it for crimes that I had done? They groaned upon the tree. Amazing pity, grace unknown. All right, you see the dynamics? Basically, I fill in the space in between my singing with some slappies down here. Alas, and see that chord, that G chord I just played was really soft underneath, and it was my voice that was leading out. I'm not really leading. So you're a voice and a piano together as an instrument now. So for years I actually ignored the voice and just led with the piano as if my voice wasn't part of the mix. And that creates problems because then you're not paying attention to your voice and the piano together. You're sort of focused all on the piano and the voice is just kind of shouting out. We just talked about dynamics, and I'm going to pick up from this place that I'm talking about called return to baseline. So we talked about this already, but returning to baseline is really important because it helps simplify things back to the basics so you can focus on the fact that you and the piano are connected and that you're connected to your congregation who's singing with you, so you can kind of not be so zeroed in on having to do your fancy stuff here. You can be out there with people. So returning to baseline. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? Okay, I can look at you, or I can look at my hands, and it feels natural. But if I'm like, and did my sovereign die? Was he alive? It gets a little funny. So the bass line is important. So you keep your hand position predictable in a predictable space, so you can feel where your hands are, so you can look at your congregation and it doesn't feel weird. See, here's something. If I was looking at the crowd while doing virtuoso things, feels weird, right? I'm like, watch me play the piano. It's like when a skateboarder does like a kickflip down a 10 stair and they're like looking at you the whole time. and it's like in slow motion. Those videos are hilarious because they look so ridiculous. We want to see that the skateboarder cares about what he's doing, and he starts just watching us while he's doing a kickflip. Same with me. If I'm like, it's a funny look, but in worship it ends up becoming kind of weird. So looking at your hands and singing is an acceptable posture. People are drawn into your experience. They see that you're connected with the piano. And then if you look out at them like, hey, are you guys singing with me, please? Awesome. That's okay too. So I'm inviting you to sing with me, but I'm also playing an instrument. So the eyes on the keys and the eyes on the people looking around and connecting is all fine. That's all fine. What ends up breaking down is something I did a lot, and that is eyes on the music. If your eyes are on the music, staring at the music, especially if the music's kind of low, like if the music's right here, or if you're using your confidence monitor in the back of the room. Right? So the idea is to loosen up. Go ahead and look at your hands for hand position changes, but whenever you have a moment that you can look out and kind of connect with people, use those two. So stage presence, you don't want to overdo it. And you don't want to become too zeroed in to where it's like you're scared. It's that happy medium of just, you got to be good enough at your craft to feel like you can loosen up. And again, I keep saying return to your baseline. Just chunk those chords like this, real easy, and don't try the fancy. If you do need a fancy change, now come back. You're good. Look at your bassist, look at your drummer, look at the people. Look around when you can. Be aware of your surroundings, but then you can focus in on the words. Focus on what you're singing. Have a broad awareness, but zero it in when you need to. All right. In general, to close out on the piano, your main thing is to paint textures. So I think simplicity is always a good place to start, as I've been saying throughout this whole video. Simplicity is king, and that's include that too for if you're padding on the piano. I made another video about padding in general on guitar and piano, but if you're padding under your pastor or creating a texture for a room, like, hey everybody, let's be ready to sing, let's get ready to sing. If you start with something like, that's fine, but And maybe sometimes the song calls for that. If it's like a big, let's stand up and sing. But oftentimes, especially if you're padding under somebody, you're just creating textures. And the one that I always start with is, of course, your 1 and your 4 with the 1 still under it. And this is so nice, right? This works anytime. It's like, ooh, oh yeah. Oh yeah, So you can tell, now it's a little Nashville or something there. So I am getting a little specific. I'm in the South, so that's kind of our sound. But get rid of the 3rd, too, if you want something more textured, like here's the 4. Just create something with a soft texture. Something to lull people along. Just think, what textures am I painting? And get rid of virtuoso. Get rid of virtuoso. Like I promise, you think people are impressed by your fancy stuff. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares. People just want to connect with you. You have something to say to them. You have something to sing with them. And you're just playing the chords. Paul McCartney. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. That was nice, right? I didn't go, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be. What? No one cares about that. Like, people would walk out. Just give them a texture, start singing with them, and have a good time. Hope that was helpful. I've got a lot more I could say, but I try to keep things under 20 minutes. So, all right. Again, download your hymnal. Super fun, very easy chord chart, lead sheet style, and hopefully I'll be able to release lots of stuff like this to help you guys out, to share what I've learned, things I've stumbled upon over the last 15 to 20 years in my audio engineering, worship leading, and audio, like music performance worlds that I live in. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.